Today we're chatting with Manifesting Secrets founder Stephanie Pierucci in one of the deepest conversations I've had around the mechanics of manifesting in recent memory. You definitely don't want to miss this conversation. This is the law of attraction like you've never heard it before. Hey everyone, Andrew here, otherwise known as the guy who wrote the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read. And I am joined by a very special guest who has actually already had her own impact on the channel through a video that she inspired me to create not too long ago called the Living Vision Board, if I remember correctly. And this person that we're chatting with today, she's amazing. We'll just put it that way. She is the founder of Manifesting Secrets and the author of The Manifesting Mind, Rewire Your Brain to Engineer Your Dream Life. I could say a lot more, but I think the conversation will speak for itself. So Stephanie Pierucci, thank you so much for being here and welcome to my YouTube channel.
Thank you for having me. I'm really impressed with everything you're doing. And I obviously loved your book.
Thank you.
And I think I devoured it last summer a couple times. And it's always really impressive to see how you use the law of attraction in conjunction with some sweat equity and getting out there and spreading the message. And I think a lot of people don't use the law of attraction with action as well as attraction. And so I love how you embody that life and you go forward in faith to create the reality that you want, which is to touch as many people as humanly possible. YouTube is a brilliant idea for, it's a brilliant way to touch people who are looking for the wisdom that you have to share.
Well, I really appreciate that compliment. And, it's kind of funny. I knew as we hit the record button, we started talking, the conversation would unfold naturally because you really brought up a really important term there that I've never used on this channel: sweat equity. And I'm obviously very interested in your opinion, whether you agree or disagree, but I'm a huge proponent of action being inspired action. I think lackful action, you're coming from a place of lack, you're going to just delay your progress and make the journey so much more difficult than it needs to be. But here we are in this three-dimensional, physical, tangible space. Action, of course, is a natural aspect of what's going on here. And I am a heavy action taker. And I always have to be cognizant of making sure that it's inspired, because I think, for me, before I ever discovered this whole law of attraction deal, I was like a rhino. I had tunnel vision. I pushed forward like through everything. I was very tenacious. I was like an animal about the whole thing. And, there's old habits creeping in there. So I'm very cognizant of like, okay, I am in massive action taking mode. This video that's being posted, this will probably be either the 68th, the 69th, or more likely the 70th consecutive day that I'm publishing new content on the channel. We'll see where it fits in there. But with all that, propping myself, I'm curious, like, how do you include sweat equity into your life while remaining consistent with the abundant feelings that I think we probably both agree we need in order to attract the things that you want?
It's a really, really good question. So I kind of was playing around with the yoga for manifestation last year, and my partner in that practice, we built it. We got it approved by Yoga Alliance, which is actually quite easy to do. We wrote an entire 300-page book on the yoga for manifestation, and my partner in that business is actually running a 200-hour yoga for manifestation teacher training this year.
Wow.
I am really more focused on my work in my publishing company, namely the publishing and marketing my own book, which then helps my authors to publish and market their books as well. And they can learn kind of vicariously through me. One of the people that I met while I was doing this brain flow yoga, or this yoga for manifestation, actually his brother is featured in The Secret, and he got to have I don't know, it was a breakfast or something with John Asroff, and I was like, oh, I want to hear about this, because this guy's a great teacher, and he's really, when you talk about the law of attraction, he's one of the very first people that you will think of because of his work with the vision boarding technique. And he said, John looked at my brother and I, he said, you know what? the law of attraction doesn't work unless you take action. You don't just throw stuff up on a vision board and throw it in your closet and forget about it. And I regret, the story goes, he said, I regret that people made vision boards, threw them in a closet or threw them on a wall, never looked at them, never did the practice of visualization, and they didn't do the practice of taking inspired action. And so I have a lot of really strong opinions like you about what is sweat equity when it comes to the law of attraction, and should it be easy? And I think what the law of attraction liberates us to do is now take action that is so fulfilling and joyful and exciting and satisfying to our deeper purpose, that it creates more and more momentum for the law of attraction to work in every aspect of our lives. So if you're working a job that sucks your soul, you're not engaging the law of attraction, because everything around you is negative thoughts and exhausted and maybe even victim. I have to do this job. I have to pay my rent. I have to support my children. When on the other hand, you're working in an inspired way. I put in a 13-hour workday yesterday because my son was with his dad and I wanted to catch up on stuff. But man, I woke up this morning, top of my game, excited, smiling. I use the first 30 minutes I wake up to not leave my bed and to do my breath work, meditation, and visualization practices. And so now my day, even if I'm working if I'm putting in those long days, it's while I'm doing something that is so enjoyable that the rest of my day has the breath and the inspiration of that joy, of that rejuvenation that my work gives me, of that gratitude that underpins everything I do, because I get to help people in my work.
So there's so much in that answer. That answer just gave me like 20 different conversations to go into here. The one I think that creeps out the most is, you're talking about John and his regret of like regretting that people, and I'm going to put words in your mouth and his mouth unfairly, but we'll see how I do here. He's basically, if I'm understanding right, he regrets not that he taught that concept, but that the format with which the concept was presented was misinterpreted by people, and therefore they didn't get the value that they could have. And the reason I bring that up is, as writing my book, I was very cognizant of that, of like, everything I write, as I put this, I've got to leave the least room for misinterpretation as possible, while simultaneously leaving as much room of positive interpretation as possible for people to make it like, what a balancing act. And I know you're running this really awesome publishing company, which we didn't even begin in the intro. We have to talk about that. But also, simultaneously, again, you run Manifesting Secrets, you wrote The Manifesting Mind. I'm wondering, you as a teacher, positioned as a teacher in some way, shape, or form regarding this, do you struggle with that concern of, how do I present this in a way that it won't be misconstrued and therefore unintentionally harmful or detrimental to the person consuming the information?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. I mean, I've intentionally, I do it more on my Instagram channel, but the beginning of my book, and particularly the first few chapters of my workbook that's a complement to the Manifesting Mind book, I let people know, guess what? You're not going to read this book and suddenly start manifesting. In fact, I think something like the law of attraction is one of the last steps in the manifestation process, because we do not attract what we think. We do not attract what we say. We do not attract what we are not. We attract what we are. And so as we evolve and ascend in our journey, in our spiritual journey, in our healing journey, and become an embodiment of more love or light or compassion or equanimity or non-judgment or whatever this thing that you're becoming is, that's when the law of attraction gets easier and easier and easier. So to answer your question, I actually have made it kind of my niche or my message in my marketing to say, this is not the easiest way to manifest, but it is the most effective. This
Mm,
is not the easy way out. And that's why it works. It works because it is a process of becoming.
right.
And these are the tools, these manifestation tools are the ones that you use for 50 years. It's not, I'm going to pull a tarot card and allow the power of that piece of cardboard to manifest the rest of my day, because that's temporary, and that's putting your power into the hands of really a piece of cardboard. A
Yeah.
lot of people, they want to use these tools and tricks and tactics and cards, and they, they have a deep reverence for maybe astrology, but then at the same time, they're allowing those temporary seasons or methods or tricks to dictate the rest of the day and therefore the rest of their lives. And so my goal is that people will make it a practice where nothing can get in the way of that train, which is your manifestation power and exactly what you want to manifest, regardless of whether or not your astrologer or fortune teller or whomever you go see for your temporary fix of feel good energy is going to say, this love is going to come into your life, this money is going to come into your life. You don't depend on those outside things anymore, because the practice of manifestation, the practice of the law of attraction, it is a becoming. It's not I read Andrew's book and then all of a sudden checks are showing up in the mail.
Mm. Very interesting to hear your answer and the way you put it, because I feel like we say the same things in different ways. We also probably have different viewpoints. Like for me, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of like checks will come in the mail. You just you gotta become that person that you're talking about first. Like, and you can leverage the content, whether it's my book or your book or someone else's. I'm a huge proponent of taking the content and leveraging it into the becoming who you are. And when you become that person, those things happen, which I think is what you're saying. But also what I'm hearing from your answer is, well, this is a daily practice that never ends. And, to me, that's exactly why, again, through my content, I try to make the daily practice fun, because I'm operating under the theory of like, if it's something that's so much fun that you look forward to,
Yeah.
even though it's worth the grind and worth the effort to make yourself do it every day, strategically, if you could find a way to make it so that you get to do it rather than you have to do it, you're basically putting yourself in a better position of being that person who becomes that person and continues to
Right.
evolve into that person that gets more and more and more and manifests and enjoys more and more through their journey. Is that a
Yeah.
fair way of describing your viewpoint?
Yeah, I think so. I would illustrate it with a story. When the kids were out of school last year, making money was hard for me. I had a small child at home, and I decided that I was going to go full time into publishing because I was meeting the need of the market. All these people are sitting at home on lockdown and like they want something to do with their time. And they're like, oh, I'm just going to write that book I always dreamed of writing. The people who didn't like watch Netflix, right? And so at that time, I started developing these mantras around making money. And the mantras were the mantra was very simple. The mantra was I gratefully receive the magnificent flow of financial abundance that's coming into my life right now. And I said it every single day for like 9 months. And it got to the point where money making truly, truly became easy, where I was just like, oh, I need an extra $6,000 this month. Okay, get on the phone, do something, and bam. So it was a practice that was like a 9-month long practice. It doesn't mean that money can't show up easily to me. It's that I needed to become that grateful recipient of the money that the universe has already created. All the money I needed had already been materialized. And for me to become that vessel, for me to become receptive to that money, did take for me a good 9 months of practice before it just kind of became pretty easy. So I think that's quick, right? I think along the journey, there were little signs and synchronicities like checks coming in the mail, truly checks coming in the mail, actually, that kind of propelled me along that experience of becoming. But I think the practice overall of making money really was a practice. There were synchronicities to keep me going, to fuel my fire, really to fuel my faith. And then the other illustration I was thinking when you were talking was, is manifestation like instantaneous? This is a big question. Is the law of attraction the type of thing where we can, where it can start happening tonight, tomorrow, today? I believe absolutely yes. Just walk around New York City where you live and act and embody that wise, gentle, compassionate man that you are. We'll walk down the same street and in a bad mood, like, see how that changes your day. You may even get to the end of the street and have a fist fight with someone. So yeah, I think the law of attraction can happen instantaneously as we are becoming, as it fuels the becoming, it does get easier. The other day I was complaining about my friend's Chihuahua. My friend had a Chihuahua, has a Chihuahua. I'm not a fan of Chihuahuas. And I was like, I'll just pet the dog, right? And I was wearing this black dress and I had hair all over my dress. I'm just about to go on stage at an entrepreneur conference that was streaming live. And I'm like, I'm covered in hair. Like this, I'm like, I can't stand that dog. Next time you get a dog, I want you to get a poodle. And then
how do you really feel, Steph?
and then I said, I shouldn't say that, because the power of my word and the power of my thoughts and the power of my energy is so strong. I'm afraid that dog's going to get run over by a car. I can't think bad things about that dog because I know the power of I am so powerful in manifestation right now that I felt worried about the dog. I was like, I cannot send negative energy to that dog because I am so powerful.
So you speak to a lot of things in your answer. And one of them, again, well, at some point in this conversation, you might be like, hey, Andrew, that's not it. You are misinterpreting. So far, I've been pretty dead on. But yeah. I think one piece here is there's a magic and a gift in the uncertainty of when or how something might happen. Meaning, how or when is it going to take 9 months? Is it going to take 9 weeks? Is it going to take 9 hours? Who knows? But in the question, in the invitation for the universe to pleasantly surprise you, and in the willingness to receive any good things, to receive being a better person, a more powerful manifester, you open the floodgates for yourself, as opposed to saying, if this doesn't happen in one day, I'm quitting. If this doesn't happen in a specific way, I am discounting the magic or the possibility of this. It's something where it's almost like, strategically speaking, because we know I'm a strategy guy, you want to lean into the uncertainty of the possibility to enhance the result and the manifestation that possibility becomes. As I describe that, how's that land for you as I'm saying it in that way?
I could not agree more. And the reason is, when I was studying with the Neurofunctional Institute and the neuroscientists and the neurofunctional experts there, that's how they were healing people from paralysis. That literally the power is in the patience. And for those quadriplegics, and for you and I who want to manifest whatever we're visualizing in our lives, the power is in the patience. When we say to our brains, because this is a mechanical thing, this is a system. What I love about our practices is that they don't rely on superstition, they rely on science. And our brains, when we allow our brains to be on that Einstein time, on that quantum time, on that relative time, the brain is at such a place of ease and relaxation that the healing or the manifestation comes more easily. And what I learned is that when these quadriplegics, they didn't say, I want, they said, I am, or not this could be, but they said this is. That's when they started to heal paralysis. And the same concepts apply to weight loss. The same concepts apply to love. The same concepts apply to money. The power is in the patience when our brains understand you've already got it. And then we become more open to receiving it, perhaps more quickly, but the key is we're in this 3D linear timeline. The key is to ignore the 3D linear timeline. It's not by August, it's not by September, it's not by 2022, it is. And so when I understand that it is manifest, when I understand that I don't have to, when I can just be in the gratitude for what is already manifest, I do believe it materializes more quickly because I'm in that state of peace.
Awesome. So, wow, we'll see how well I do at formulating this question, because as you were continuing to speak, it kept evolving. I'm like, wait, I got to clue that part. Let's see what's going on here. So, because people are, a couple minutes ago, you're such a powerful manifester that you're actually worried about the dog. And then by that same token, you're articulating this ease that you feel. And you're also talking about the statements, I am, this is. These all sound like they're related, but I'm imagining people are watching this right now. It's like, wow, with how powerful, Stephanie's feeling right now, and she's describing ease, I want to get me some of that ease. So my question to you, is it in the I am statements that the ease comes? Is it in that way exclusively? Is there something else missing? In other words, my long-winded question here, what would you say to people that are looking for the most strategic, most effective, most accessible way to access the ease that will result in the certainty that will speed up the quality and the quality and the unfolding of their manifestation?
I think you treat manifestation similar to how you treat a business. And one of the words that you used a few minutes ago was inspired work, or some people refer to inspired action. And I think when we trust, when we're in that place of faith, that what that thing that we deeply desire is coming to us, it allows us to work less hard and have more inspired action. And I know that's how you run your life as well as your business. And in manifestation, similar to in business, I enjoy the model from David Allen from his book, Getting Things Done, where he has the model of do, delegate, or delete. And our lives in attracting what we want are a practice of do, delegate, or delete. What do I allow into my field? What do I not allow into my field? I try to remember that for me, a lot of my manifestation is tethered to a higher power. And some people call it God, but some people who choose not to call it God call it the subconscious mind. And the relationship with God or with your subconscious mind is so strengthened in that ability to not work so hard and rely more on the magic of your subconscious mind or God. And so in the same way that people run a business, like I'm the CEO, I'm going to delegate that, or, that's not worth my time, I'm going to delete that. That's kind of the same way I practice manifestation. Am I going to do this? Am I going to take inspired action? Am I going to delegate it? And am I going to give it to God? Or am I going to put it into my subconscious mind and let my subconscious mind figure it out for me, which is really fun. And you do more and more and more of that as you practice. Or am I going to delete it? Am I going to draw boundaries on my energy and just get rid of that altogether?
I like that. And you just spoke about, trust the more that you do it. I think another easily accessible way of doing this is not expecting to be the greatest at it in the beginning, but more be willing to do it because it's an evolving, unfolding thing. And again, don't feel like you got to wait. Like for me, I have my own personal story. I share on gravitythecosmos.com where, I give a free training and talk about all this cool stuff. And in my story, I articulate how, when I turned my life around the first part was like within 2 weeks, although it stretched out into like 6 months. And in that pocket of time, it wasn't like it took me till 6 months and then I woke up and it's like, oh, everything's done. It's like, no, well, this part of my life improved at this stage, and then this part and this part. It's a progressive thing. And I think the key thing is, and I'm interested in your thoughts, are, you take your wins where you can get them, big and small, early and later on, because they all culminate. And you know what? Guess what? If you don't do that, what else are you going to do? You might as well start on this journey now, because the sooner you begin, the sooner you're going to get to the things that you want and begin enjoying your life the way you were always meant to.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's hard to talk about. It's hard to get deep into this stuff and deep into our practices without wanting to use esoteric terms like surrender or like faith. And I struggle because for me, I had heard people, really the word surrender came into my consciousness with the Surrender Experiment book, and that was probably 2016 or 2017, and it's written by Michael A. Singer. And even reading that book, it wasn't until maybe the second or third read of that book that I really understood what that meant. And I think Dr. David Hawkins in his book Letting Go really honed it in for me, that surrender is not passive, it's active. And that absolutely revolutionized my experience, because I don't know if it's because I'm not an analytical person, but like some of these practices seemed so esoteric. Like, what does it mean to surrender? What does it mean to have faith? It wasn't, I had to rely on a lot of teachers to help me understand how to just calm down and trust.
And you're speaking to something, this is almost coming full circle, because we was talking about, John Assaraf before and how he regretted. I mean, I think people will use the terms like surrender, and it's funny because they have their own concept of what that is. And then they read it in a book from someone that had a different concept of it, and they didn't even realize that the concept was different. And it becomes it's almost like a rabbit hole of like, what's the true meaning of this? And then once you do that, you're inadvertently distracting yourself. So, I mean, I appreciate the way you were hesitant to use that word, because you intuitively know that people are going to grit their teeth, not because it's not a valid term or a valid word, but because there's so much static and friction attached to it in most cases, for all the books and programs that people have gone through, where it was interpreted in some different way, presented in some different way, and then therefore inadvertently attached to a specific type of outcome, therefore distorting any kind of expectations they should have over their life and over how they're going to experience surrendering or trust or faith. And I remember in my book, I attacked the word alignment, which I think the word alignment is great. But I remember saying, like, in my book, like, what does that even mean to people? Like, what are people supposed to do with that? And I think also you're speaking to something really important here, because that's the thing. A lot of times we will get sources of information and we're like, wow, this person seems, well, one, and not that I ever want to come off that way, but I know inadvertently will happen at times. This person comes off like they've got it all figured out. Therefore, we find ourselves desperately reaching for like, oh, I've got it figured out the way they figured out, because I've got to get the same result that I've imagined in my mind that they have, even if they don't have it. And I think it's so important here. It's like, listen, everyone's on their own journey. The best thing you can do is say, listen, if a word doesn't make sense, give yourself permission, again, either delegate or delete, right? You can do something with it, or you can delete it and go into something else, but give yourself the freedom to do either. As I'm saying that, like, what thoughts come to mind and how's that all landing for you?
Oh my goodness, there's so much there. I don't know where you want me to start, but the power of the way that you use the word alignment, it almost feels, when I was reading your book, it almost felt like you were describing, I'll never forget, I was reading, I think I told you this, I was reading it in Moab, Utah. And I remember it was a sunny day and my son and I were walking around the Arches Park, and And I remember seeing alignment, and I visualized alignment as being, as I'm walking, there's all these, there's these sunbeams. I'm a very visual person, if you can't tell. Visualization is a huge part of my life and practice. But I remember alignment, when I first really understood it, I could see alignment as these like sunbeams from the sky. And when I would stand in that sunbeam, it was warm and it was exciting, and the energy was just so nurturing. And when I'm out of alignment, it's like being in the shade. You know, you can almost feel in your spirit when you're in alignment, it's like, oh yeah, I've got this direct channel to the light. You know, I have so I love the word alignment. Richard Rudd I don't know if you've ever read Gene Keys.
I don't believe so. You know, it's funny, you mentioned the surrender experiment, like, oh, I read that one, cool. I don't think I read Gene Keys.
Yeah, Gene Keys is, see, there's the Chihuahua that I discussed, sorry.
No, it's like, hey, law of attraction, the Chihuahua's got to enter the picture, right?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up?
Hi, Andrew.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good.
So okay, so from alignment to now, the Gene Keys book, Richard talks about how when we are in alignment, he talks about when we are in that state of surrender, when we are seeking kind of when we are in hot pursuit of that becoming, of that life of love. He said the way that we are propelled and the way that we are fueled in that is through synchronicity. And he says, and it's in chapter 10, because, you know, I'm like the consummate bibliophile, and I like memorize where these things are. But he says, when you see synchronicity, if you're worried that you're not in alignment, synchronicity is God saying, you're on the right path. When you see these miraculous things happen, and they are little mini miracles throughout your day. And I agree with you that you can see them the day you read the last law of attraction book you'll ever read. Boom, you're on the right track. That book will put you in alignment. And you will start to see synchronicities the day you read the last law of attraction book you'll ever read. The day you read it. But it doesn't take away from the fact that it's still a process of becoming, right, and calling in greater and greater and greater things. I want to be King Solomon. I want to be the wisest and the richest person on the planet. You know, I'm going to continue in that process of becoming as powerful as I possibly can be, you know?
Yeah. And you made such a critical point that really serves people that are in doubt about their journey. And that's in regard to, and off of this book, Synchronicity, because I think many times people will read these books or they'll watch videos, or it'll be whatever. They'll be introduced these terms or reintroduced because they've been trying for years and they don't understand why they're not getting anywhere. And they're looking for the big synchronicity, which they have access to technically, but in most cases it won't be there. But I think you really stated something really important here. You articulated that there are minor synchronicities that are going on all day, every day. And if only you open yourself up and see it and allow yourself to receive that as your cue that, yeah, this is enough evidence. This is enough of an indicator. You know, it's almost like, you know, I see those memes where there's like a big sign out on the highway that says, this is a sign you've been looking for. It's like, do we really need the sign to be that big on the freeway? Like there's so many, like even the Chihuahua coming through now, it's just like, was a perfect explanation. Like, I will take that as a reminder, like you know, we were so potent in the discussion that the dog is appearing on camera in the middle of this recording where we could not have orchestrated it. You know what I mean? Because like technically, and there's more to go in this conversation, but overall, technically, this is a short conversation, relatively speaking, and yet the dog still entered the picture just based on that conversation. That to me is a synchronicity. And if someone says, Andrew, you're reaching, I'm like, thanks. I've also reached my way into, at this point, 71,000 copies of the book sold. I've reached my way into Fulfilling Day Every Day. I'm reaching my way into all this. And you know what? It doesn't feel like reaching. So please, everyone, reach the way I'm reaching. And if it doesn't work for you, at least you gave yourself the gift of attempting it. Don't discount it. and don't discard it without actually giving it a shot and seeing if these small synchronicities work for you.
Well, and the law of attraction, you're not really risking anything. It's a life of more happiness and contentment. Come on, y'all, give it a chance.
Serious. I like that. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. There's no risk. And it's funny. And we got to get back to you because this is Stephanie being interviewed, not Andrew. And you can see I'm a chatterbox. This, by the way, is why I do fewer interviews, because I talk so much anyway. When I'm on interviews, like I'm always like, listen, you know, you've got to put yourself in that role where you're inviting things and just taking it in. And, you know, there really is everything to gain and nothing to lose. And here's the thing I tell people about gratitude. For those that only see my YouTube and they don't see my interviews, studies have shown that gratitude will improve your sleep. It'll increase your confidence. It'll reduce your anxiety. So even if I'm lying or deluded about this whole law of attraction thing, you will get a win instantly in and of itself in the moment for taking 5 minutes each day to experience gratitude, if nothing else, physiologically speaking, which is why it's such an important thing in my view to give a shot, because even if you don't attract the thing that you want in the time that you want to do it, you're still getting a win in that moment. And by the way, just, you know, spoiler alert, if you allow yourself to enjoy the moment, then the other good things come anyway.
They do. That's what I love about this. It's a self-perpetuating practice. The law of attraction, it gets easier. It gets more powerful. It gets more potent. I mean, how exciting is it that, you know, I'm like, oh, well, I don't want the dog to get run over by a car because I'm pissed at it for being so shitty and making me sneeze, you know, and then like, boom, it runs in the room. But then just a couple hours ago, I was on the phone with my friend. I won't say his name, but I was on the phone with my friend and he fell in love with this woman. And oh my gosh, like, and she's not ready. He's saying she's got to do more spiritual development and more work. And as he's talking and I'm listening, I don't know why, but I felt compelled to say, this is the ultimate act of surrender. You have this woman, you absolutely want to marry her. You want to shower her with your time and your attention and your gifts and your energy. But you understand that she still has some healing to do before she can fully show up in that relationship the way that you are seeing it happen in your visions, in your dreams, in your manifestation practice. I said, so the hardest thing for you to do is to surrender and to stop holding on to that relationship so tightly that you're going to scare her away. She's not ready. She has some time. She has some healing to do. She has maybe some daddy issues or some past relationship issues or whatever she's got. You got to surrender, because when she comes to you, it's going to be so much more beautiful than you having to drag her over to you. And I think sometimes when we get impatient about the universe, we have to look at the universe like these lovers that I'm talking to this morning. He wants so badly to shower her with his love, and she is not at that place where she can really understand or see or receive that love. And so he's got to take a step back until she comes to him. And the reason that I thought of sharing that story is because we're discussing synchronicity. Well, this guy told me when we got on the phone, he said, I have toiled and talked about this woman to every one of my friends for 72 hours straight. And I'm so exhausted because I don't know what to do. And I said, well, you should have called me first. No.
It's like, next time now, you know, call me first.
Call Mama Stephanie. So I said, okay. I said, I'm going to give you an analogy, and it's after listening to your story. He said, it's the last time I'm ever telling this story. I said, after listening to your story, what I see is kind of the prodigal son situation from the Bible, or I almost see, you know, I almost see it as like the universe with all this abundance and all these riches and all this love, and then us, where we have to choose to kind of face and to face the light, or to pursue the light, you know. But the universe isn't going to absolutely love bomb us with, a lottery ticket, most people who win the lottery lose the money because they're not ready.
Hmm.
And so it was such a synchronous moment. And in that moment, he said, "Oh my God, I can go to sleep now." He's like, that was exactly what I needed to hear. That was,
Yeah.
and so the universe was able to speak to my friend through that analogy
What was
of,
really cool is because he could see her in himself and he could see himself in the universe through that analogy and see all sides of the equation and see the level of abundance and care and love within all channels of that entire dynamic.
yeah.
Really cool.
And then you could go into masculine and feminine, you could go in a million different directions with that. But I think that's often how the universe works. A lot of people are like, what the hell is wrong with God? Or what the hell is wrong with me? Because I'm not healing, or I'm not manifesting, or I'm not receiving. And a lot of times it's because it's that process of surrendering to your lover, that process to surrendering to God, or surrendering to the prosperity, whatever that ideal is, whatever that light is that you're drawing toward. It does require that decision and that surrender. And so I thought it was funny because it both satisfied this idea of synchronicity and how synchronous it was for me to have this conversation with a friend just a couple hours ago. And it also satisfies that question of like, what is surrender? And why is it so important? And I think the analogy of a lover is great, because for a lover, or for the universe to beat us over the head and say, love me, let me protect you, choose me, versus us choosing and having faith. It's
Yeah.
so much more beautiful and authentic when we make that decision for ourselves versus someone like sitting at our doorstep 24/7, like, come on, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to love you.
It's fun, you want any wounds for you to come up for you to heal, either start a business or get in a relationship. Those are two easy ways for stuff to come up for you to deal with, right?
Oh yeah. I think as an entrepreneur, I think business is harder than relationships,
Hmm.
than love relationships. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Hey, well, whether it's true or false, you're right? Because it's your thing that you're creating.
That's right. I
It's,
manifest.
and by the way, I'm kind of like, I think I'm in that camp also. We all got stuff. Now, speaking of which, I guess you're inadvertently segueing, but I think this is perfectly important to bring up because we were talking about inspired action before and really following your joy. And by the way, I realize someone that's in that job that they don't like right now, it's not so simple for them. To which I would say, well, until it becomes simple, at least strategically take time out of your day to visualize, to feel gratitude, to open up pathways and opportunities by which you might find your way out of it. That being said, getting to you, because your passion, your inspiration is in this publishing company.
Yeah.
What kind of cute, like, well, what makes your company different? What are you doing in your publishing, and what inspired you to start this to begin with? Like, what's taking you down this path?
I'm like, yeah, that's a great question. So do you know the rock climber who has like, he has like some really weird situation with his amygdala? He's the free solo climber. You
Okay.
know, he's Alex Hommel. He'll free solo like 1,000 feet without a rope, and it's really difficult. So that's kind of how I've always been with entrepreneurship. I'm like, I have absolutely no fear. I take risks. I'm a gambler. And so what I'm able to do with my publishing company is all these people. Did you know that of the every 100 people who want to write a book, only 2% ever will?
Wow.
It's not a very big number.
Not at all.
A lot of people want to write a book and most of them don't. So what I'm able to do is I'm able to take this courage and this absolutely almost reckless faith that I have in myself, and I'm able to infuse my authors with faith for themselves and their messages.
Hmm.
So what makes my publishing company very different is that I don't just talk about writing and publishing a book, because that's really easy and I can have my entire publishing staff deal with that for people. But what I do with people is I help them to see how this book will change their lives. And you are that exact avatar because you were working in your previous, I don't know if you talk about it much, but you were working in your previous line of work,
I mean, I'll say for the audience, just because you're not familiar, like I've been a busy entrepreneur, and I don't know how much detail I went into, but it was basically 11 years after that first huge law of attraction experience where I'm like, I want to do something brand new in my business, but I
Mhm.
want like I want to be a thing where, to be candid, I've said this in interviews. I don't want to get bored when like I'm getting emails from customers. I want to be engaged in the process. What aspect of my life have I never spoken about before that I want to challenge myself to articulate to take to a new level that I can do? And this kind of popped in like, okay, this is my new path. But so yeah, just to articulate that, I went a lot of years, and it's not that I was scared to do it. It was just like it never occurred to me. It never occurred to me to talk about this huge important thing in my life, except to people privately and helping people privately. It never occurred to me to take this to what I guess I'm now trying to do on a global scale. So um, it sounds like, based on what I hear about you, it sounds like that is your avatar, and the people that like it just, and maybe some people are scared, but maybe some people aren't. But it sounds like it doesn't really occur to them that it can actually be something where they're going to write the book. Is that a fair way of putting it?
you well, it's not just about writing the book, but it's about embodying the book. And
Mm,
that's where my publishing company is different. Is we have 4 life coaches on staff. We treat the book as a spiritual journey. So we're infusing spirit into our books. We're making it so that you never get a customer support email and you're just like, oh, someone who read my boring data analytics book. You know what I mean? Because you develop that relationship with your book, with your readers, and ultimately with the future of your book. And so the reason that I say you are my avatar, you are my ideal person to work with, is because the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read, you could have published it and had 200 sales and just walked away like, oh, I'm a failure. But what you did was you made this book your life. And you've got 71,000 copies sold. You've got like 1,600 reviews now or something.
well, uh, 1,800 ratings and reviews on the Amazon US site, over 1,000 on Audible. And it's funny, I use these numbers because I never want to inflate it. I'll go underneath. Like, I never check like the global numbers. So I know it's in the thousands, but
Thousands of reviews.
I'm
But
grateful for every last one. I
I
really
mean,
am.
statistically, what are you? You're among the top 3 of every million books ever written in terms of reviews and sales. I mean,
Mm,
it is so, so, so rare that people sell, frankly, even more than 500 books in their lifetime. Books don't sell unless you put your heart behind them. Or if you're not going to put your heart behind them, put money behind them.
It's someone's heart, right? Someone's joy, like this money. But no, I hear you.
Make that happen. I can make that happen too. But what makes us different is that our average relationship is not with the book, but it's with the author, and it's for the long haul.
Nice. There's a couple of, I'm glad I asked you that question. Well, one, because I wonder if there are potential authors who might want to connect with you after this interview that are perfect for you. But that part aside, I really want to shine a spotlight on here and invite people to rewatch this interview, because there's a lot of gold in this interview anyway. Everyone watch Stephanie's body language. And I know Steph personally, and just in case it wasn't clear, to speak for her right now, it was a huge intention of her to really serve and really provide value that's actionable, that's user friendly, that you could implement, right? And you can see that throughout the whole conversation. But look at the elevation in body language, enthusiasm, and vocal inflection as soon as we got to the passion part of what she's doing. And the reason I'm bringing it up is this is the thing where I'm not telling you listening out there that you need this to be complete, but I'm telling you that if you can give yourself permission to find the thing in your life that will result in that body language and vocal cadence, you will be happier and you will manifest more. It's not required for you to manifest more. It's not required for you to be happier, but it's a wonderful strategic way that you enjoy, by the way, quite obviously, to do. So I invite people to rewatch Stephanie's body language, specifically at that point in particular, and find the thing that you can do, even if you're not getting paid for it, that's going to infuse the level of enthusiasm and joy and satisfaction in your moment, because that's vibrationally sending out that signal in and of itself. That's screaming to the universe, I'm ready for you to shower me with all that love that you've been waiting to shower me. Excuse me. I can't even get the words out. Shower me with all the love that you've been waiting to shower me with. Like, that's what it is. And I really want to shine that spotlight because I'm like a mad scientist. Like I knew that when I asked you that there was gonna be something, but I didn't want to prep you before because I wanted to be perfectly natural. But I want to shine that spotlight also for you, Steph, because you should see yourself. You're looking at me while you're speaking. You should see yourself in the playback as you're describing what you're doing for the authors and how you're helping them make an impact on the world. It's a wonderful, awesome thing. And it almost answers the question of like, what can anyone out there do in order to boost their own vibrational frequency? It's like, don't look at, and again, this is me, you might disagree, Steph, it's like, don't even look at it as like having to find your life purpose. All I'm saying is, be willing to search for and receive something you're really passionate about, because the creation and the enjoyment and the fulfillment that comes through it, you can't really put the value of it into words.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you have that much excitement about your book, you specifically, or you in terms of a person who writes, when you have that much excitement about it, man, you're answering customer service emails at 3 a.m. and you're jazzed about it. You're like, this is amazing. My inbox is overflowing with people that I'm helping and people that I'm blessing. And did my publishing career start with making lots of money doing it? Absolutely not. But I figured out and I tweaked it to where I'm doing it in a way that really serves my highest and my highest calling and my divine purpose, which is, books are changing the future of the world, and they always have, and they always will. As much as people watch a Netflix show, they will never remember the name of the characters in that Netflix show. But books are so powerful, they will remember the practices that, for instance, you give in your book. They permeate our minds and hearts and brains in such a more powerful way. And so for me, when I finally realized I'm not just publishing because I'm a good writer, I'm not just publishing because I understand all the mechanics behind publishing. I'm publishing because I believe this is my way of helping the world ascend into higher levels of consciousness. And that's where it gave me the goosebumps. That once I realized why I feel called to be in publishing, which I've been doing for 11 years, once I realized why I need to be in publishing, oh, this is my life's mission, to help the world evolve through books. And then it gave me the goosebumps. And then I could work a 16-hour day and not feel exhausted. Granted, there's that 10% of your business that's always going to exhaust you. And maybe for someone who's as creative as you, it's bookkeeping. I don't know. But what if that's yoga? Or what if it is accounting? My dad's been a CFO for a long time with a union in Chicago, with the production workers union. And he's like, yeah, I don't really want to go to the office anymore. He's like, but you know what I love? He's a CPA, so he doesn't have to be doing this type of work, but he's like, I love bookkeeping. I'm like, huh? Like, don't you want to be solving complex finance problems? He said, you know what I love? I love helping small family businesses. It turns me on. It lights me up. There's nothing more fun. And so my dad, in, of course, piggybacking my own entrepreneurship stuff, he's like, you know what? I'm just going to start a bookkeeping business, even though I'm a CPA, even though I'm a CFO, even though I'm in this massive organization with 1,000 employees. And the way that I'm going to make that happen is I'm going to have these, in my contract, it's going to be a 12-month relationship. Because not only do I have lots of residual income coming in, and yeah, the work is easy for me, but it means that for 12 months, I get to build a relationship with this small business. And when he transitioned from these white collar, C-suite, fancy schmancy type positions to doing bookkeeping, all of a sudden he's like, holy cow, every single person I work with is referring me to friends. All of a sudden, I've got an entire organization that I'm building. I need to hire more employees. And it started with me wanting to help people with bookkeeping. And now he's building this massive organization. And so I think while it doesn't happen overnight, when we follow those goosebumps and like what fills us with joy, it really does expand into something bigger and greater. I got into publishing as a ghostwriter. It was my current situation, but it wasn't my final destination. Running a publishing company when I was 27 years old, I would have said, oh, hell no. I could never do that, and now at 38 years old, it's a lot easier. I've got a lot more business experience under my belt. So yeah, following those goosebumps of what you really love and what lights you up, and then surrendering to that, even if it looks like it's just a job as a barista for now. I love making coffee and having small talk with people. When you follow that thing that absolutely lights you up, it could be within 3 months that you're running the coffee shop. Or if that's not your goal, it could be within 3 months that you meet the person in that position that is synchronously driving you to that next level where your impact becomes greater and your happiness becomes greater, and they feed one another.
Nice. Love it. Love it. So second to last question for you. People want to connect with you, learn more about, what you're doing regarding your publishing company, or even check out Manifesting Secrets or anything like that. What is the best way or ways for them to do so?
The easiest way probably to reach me directly. The easiest channel to get to me directly is either email Stephanie at Pieruccipublishing.com or visit Pieruccipublishing.com. My last name isn't the easiest to spell, so if you're not awesome at spelling,
well, I'm gonna put the link in the description anyway, so people can just go down to the description and click very easily. So that'll.
I was going to say, if you're not great at spelling, you can go to manifestingsecrets.com and pick up a copy of the Manifesting Mind book. But if you really want to be able to contact me directly, then yeah, I more than invite people to reach out, and I'm really, really active when people have questions about manifestation or the law of attraction or publishing. I'm that person that will sit in my car and do a video response to people. So I'm like you, where emails that I get, support emails I get, light me up, and I live to delight people that I serve.
Awesome. Well, I am delighted in leaving both links in the description so people have either way to access you. This brings me to my last question for you. And this, we can go in any direction with this, but you've had your own journey in life. You've learned so much, you've experienced so much. With that in mind, if you can go back in time and leave any piece of advice, life advice, business advice, whatever it might be, to a younger version of yourself, whether it's 10 years ago, 15, 20 years, whatever it might be, what advice would you give to that younger version of yourself?
Oh, that's a really good question. The word that's coming up for me is habits.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm a very impetuous person. Like I said, I love to take risks and gamble and, do dangerous things and take bets on myself and on others. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think what I missed was the foundation in tethering myself to daily spiritual practices or daily habits that were going to keep me grounded and allow me to fly in a million different directions. So if I were to look at myself, even just 5 years ago, I was a little better at it. 10 years ago, I would say, have a daily practice that keeps you grounded. And it's going to help all of the crazy, creative, impetuous decisions that I make throughout my day. It's going to make them more in alignment.
Love it. I think that's a wonderful note to end on. So just want to say, Steph, thank you so much for coming, sharing your insight, sharing your wisdom, sharing the fruits of your experiences so that others might take that as a leveraging point in their own lives. I invite people to re-listen to this interview and pull out all those nuggets of gold that you shared. But again, I'm just so grateful for you coming on and having this conversation with me. Thank you so much.
I'll come on anytime. It's a joy.